Today, Domino's Pizza is the #2 pizza chain, second only to Pizza Hut. Its founder, Tom Monahan, has made getting a fresh, hot pizza as easy as picking up the phone. And along the way, he amassed a fortune estimated to top $1 billion and became the hero of hungry college students and couch potatoes everywhere. But did you know the innovative entrepreneur was once a poor kid who lived in an orphanage, graduated last in his high school class, and was kicked out of seminary school? Not to mention that he enrolled in college 6 times without ever getting past the status of freshman. This is a story you do not want to miss. Keep watching to find out how he made it happen. Tom's early life reads something like a Charles Dickens novel. Born in 1937, Thomas Stephen Monahan was born in Ann Arbor, Michigan, a suburb of Detroit. His father tragically died on Christmas Eve when he was just 4 years old. As his mother felt incapable of caring for her 2 sons while she attended nursing school, 2 years later she placed him and his younger brother James in an orphanage. The orphanage was run by an order of nuns, the Felician Sisters. Although his mother was later able to raise the boys on her own again, the nuns had a big effect on Tom, leading him to consider becoming a priest. At the time, though, he did not have the necessary discipline and was expelled from the seminary for such heinous transgressions as pillow fighting and talking in the chapel. Returning to public school, Tom graduated 44th in a class of 44. In other words, he was the last of his class. The caption under the photo in the 1955 class yearbook read, "The harder I try to be good, the worse I get. But I may still do something sensational yet." Tom dreamed of studying architecture at the University of Michigan, but his poor grades coupled with a lack of money ruled that out, and he saw himself forced to enlist in the Marine Corps. Here, he gained a better sense of discipline, and by the end of his 3-year tour, he had saved the money needed for tuition. But he was swindled by an unscrupulous oil man who got him to naively invest the money in a get-rich-quick scheme. The would-be oil tycoon convinced him to give his entire savings to drill an oil well. Of course, Tom never saw the money or the oil man again. What made matters worse is that Tom had built up those savings in the Marines, which he had also been duped into joining. He thought he was joining the Army and only found out it was the Marines after taking aptitude tests. What a bummer. Feeling defeated and with only $15 in his pocket, the young man hitchhiked from San Diego back to Ann Arbor. He enrolled in university a whopping 6 times, but never made it past the status of freshman. In 1960, Tom's luck finally seemed to change. His brother James contacted him and asked if he'd be interested in going into a partnership. He wanted to buy a small pizza business, to which Tom agreed. They took their entire savings and borrowed an additional sum to buy a failing pizzeria. The restaurant was located nearby Ypsilanti in Michigan. It was called Dominick's Pizza, as the previous owners were named Dominick and Nick. Tom and James were excited for what was coming next, but little did they know, things were not about to go as planned. Tom threw himself into the business and put in upwards of 100 hours of hard work per week. But while they had great ideas, the brothers faced plenty of challenges getting their new business off the ground. In just 6 months after buying the place, James got cold feet and decided to pull out. He owned 50% of the business, which today rakes in over $10 billion annually, and cashed out by taking the beat-up '59 Volkswagen Beetle the brothers had bought as a delivery car. This left Tom in a difficult situation. The pizza business was not doing well and was losing money fast. Tom ended up so broke that he lived off burnt pizza and stale popcorn for a few weeks. And eventually, he even lost his home due to not being able to pay his monthly rental obligation. Something had to be done. But all Tom had up to this stage was an old banged-up car. How would he find a solution to get his business up and running and produce revenue? This must have been a hard period for him, and from his autobiography, we know how he dealt with it. In 1986, Tom wrote a book entitled Pizza Tiger, in which he details his story. Recalling this seemingly desperate moment in his life, he wrote the following: "It was a setback, but I took it in stride and was optimistic. I made the decision to commit myself heart and soul to being a pizza man. My purpose was clear, and the knowledge that the future success or failure of the business rested on my shoulders alone was welcome. In the book, he explains how he went from one store to thousands of franchise stores, and he details how he expanded his business into one of the largest pizza delivery companies in the world. When reading the book, it becomes quite clear that ingenuity and strict personal ethics played a major role, but some of the revelations are a little surprising, to say the least. One solution Tom found to make sure the failing business would not fall even deeper was to threaten pizza thieves with a meat tenderizer and fisticuffs. Really? This passage from page 97 of the paperback edition gives you an idea. I didn't take abuse from anyone. If someone refused to pay a driver for an order, I didn't call the police. I just went and demanded the money. Usually the culprits were a bunch of college guys who decided to have a party at my expense, and I didn't hesitate to swing a punch to persuade them to pay up. From time to time, we'd have a rash of pizza thefts from parked vehicles while drivers were busy with customers. I'd hide in the back of the car the next time it went to that neighborhood and wait for them to try it again. I'd carry a meat tenderizing mallet or a pop bottle as a persuader, and that approach always solved the problem. Making the customers pay for their goods was necessary, but this was certainly an unusual way to go about business, and of course, more would be needed than this to save the ailing restaurant. After noticing how he was losing money month after month, Tom knew something new and unusual had to be done, and it had to be done quickly. This is when he came up with a simple solution. He would offer a free delivery service for his pizza orders. At the time, this had never been done before. Students on campus loved it, and the service became so popular in the area that Tom could hardly keep up with the amount of business that was flooding in. He acquired 2 more stores and enjoyed modest success, but the stores were still losing money. With his experience in the college town, however, Tom knew how to cater to the students, literally. He dropped sandwiches from the menu and focused on making and delivering pizzas only. A few years later, in 1965, he changed the name of the pizza business to Domino's Pizza and opened a few more stores. Soon thereafter, his business became an internationally recognized pizza brand. Initially, Domino's did not offer its famous promise to deliver your pizza within 30 minutes of ordering. This idea only came after years of Tom tweaking his business practices, shaving seconds off the time needed to make each pizza, streamlining the product line by reducing the number of ingredients and variables, and all sorts of other crucial innovations. One of those innovations was his design of a new pizza box. The insulated box not only kept the pizza warm, but also supported the weight of multiple boxes on top of it. This allowed several to be delivered at once, without the box's lid sagging and causing the cheese to be stuck to the top. Now, the pizzas were finally kept hot and protected during delivery, and the modern-day pizza delivery service was born. But that wasn't the only change that happened. Tom's emphasis on delivery led him to institute the guarantee of having a pizza delivered within 30 minutes of a phone order, or the order would be free. The idea of stressing 30-minute delivery grew out of my insistence on giving customers a quality pizza. Tom explains in Pizza Tiger, it doesn't make sense to use only the best ingredients if the pizza was cold and tasteless when the customer got it. And to motivate his drivers to make their deliveries as fast as possible, he handed out bonuses to those who collected the most cash. Domino's took off as a result of its improved delivery system, and Tom was able to spread his stores all over North America. In fact, his expansion was actually the biggest innovation that enabled the 30-minute promise. Tom bought up pizza joints whenever he could, slowly creating a network that meant there would be a store nearby any customer who might call. After franchising the business, the network effect continued to work, as thousands of franchisees clustered in regions in order to get pizzas to customers' doors on time. Sadly, for those in the U.S., the 30-minute promise was discontinued in 1993, although it's still in effect in many international stores. Another interesting detail is that Tom met his future wife on his first pizza delivery. 14 months after getting into the pizza business, he made his first delivery from a new store he'd set up in Mount Pleasant, Michigan. The order was to a dormitory at Central Michigan University. When Tom arrived, the woman working at the reception desk, Margie, caught his eye. After their second date, he gave her a heart-shaped pizza for Valentine's Day. It was a big hit with her friends in the dorm. They were married the following year, and Margie Monahan worked with Domino's for decades. However, as the business continued to grow, Tom had to face a number of challenges. A fire destroyed his anchor store in Ypsilanti, which supplied the other stores with food, as well as the company's offices. Most of the damage was not covered by insurance, and he had to pay a hefty sum. Blinded by his success, Tom had also established an ambitious goal of opening one new store per week. In the first 10 months of 1969, 32 new Domino's sprung up, mostly in residential areas. But the rapid expansion proved to be disastrous, and almost all the stores failed. By 1970, unrestrained expansion had put Domino's into millions of dollars in debt. To avoid bankruptcy, Tom relinquished control of the company to Ken Hevlin, a local businessman. Turning the company over had been a hard decision, but luckily Tom managed to regain control within a year. By 1973, Domino's had recovered, but the ordeal taught Tom a valuable lesson. He vowed that there would be no more expansion for expansion's sake. He reduced his goal to 20 new stores per year and began selecting his sites more carefully. The strategy worked, and by the end of the 1980s, Domino's had grown to 290 stores. Things were going great, and by 1983, Tom had become wealthy enough to buy his own baseball team. So that's what he did. To celebrate the opening of his 1,000th franchise in 1983, he realized a lifelong dream by purchasing his hometown team, the Detroit Tigers Baseball Club, for $35 million. The very next year, the Tigers won the World Series. Not bad. Domino's remarkable growth continued throughout the second half of the 1980s, and by 1989, the company boasted almost 5,000 stores in the United States and nearly 260 in other countries. But that same year, Tom would shock the business world by giving up the presidency of Domino's to devote more time to Catholic charities. A devout Catholic, Tom felt like it was time to change his plans once more. And in 1992, a reawakening of his Catholic faith led him to alter his lifestyle. He sold the Tigers to another Detroit-based pizza baron, Little Caesars founder Mike Ilitch. And in 1998, he once again surprised the industry by announcing his retirement and selling his 93% stake in Domino's to the Boston-based investment firm Bain Capital. The sum? A hefty $1 billion. Free to finally devote all his time to his religion, Tom went on to found Ave Maria University. He believed that there is a lot that can be done at a university that can change the world. And he once said, "I don't want a diploma factory, I want a saint factory." But unfortunately, Bain Capital mismanaged Domino's and caused the company to fall into dire straits. In 2001, Tom, who was still holding a 7% stake in the company, returned to its management. And 3 years later, the company had rebounded enough to begin trading on the New York Stock Exchange. By 2011, Domino's reported about 1/3 of their orders, and some countries, nearly half of them, were made online. US-based digital sales had topped $1 billion for a one-year period, justifying Tom's belief that home delivery was the way to go. That same year, he stepped aside from his leadership of Ave Maria University in Florida and got back into the food delivery business. In his adopted hometown of Naples, Florida, he started Gyrene Burger, reasoning that hamburgers are more popular than pizza. The concept never quite took off, however, and after attempting to move to Tennessee, he was forced to close all locations. Since retiring, Tom has become even more active in the Catholic Church, pledging his time and money to charitable endeavors such as building churches and missions in Honduras and Nicaragua, and the founding of a Catholic law school. And Domino's also seems to be doing just fine without its founder. As of 2021, it currently operates 17,800 stores in more than 90 countries around the world, and has more than 350,000 franchised and corporate team members worldwide. This was the story of Tom Monahan. The innovative entrepreneur was brought up in an orphanage, had anything but a stellar school career, and at one point even ended up being homeless. But yet, he still managed to turn a single floundering pizza parlor into one of the world's largest pizza chains. He never gave up on his dreams, and his story goes to show that if opportunity doesn't knock, you should build a door. We hope you have been inspired. Do you have a business in mind that you would like us to cover in the future? Then share it in the comments, and make sure to check out our channel for more inspiring stories.